All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. We are sitting here in my garage. It's early October, and we are ready for another fishing report. It's been a month since we talked last on the fishing report end, and a lot has changed. We're getting into a full fall pattern. Before we go any further, I want to let you guys know that this fishing report is brought to you by Hatch Toyota in Show Low, Arizona. If you guys are in the market for a vehicle, make sure to give them a look. Love working with those guys. Love dealing with those guys. I'm actually headed up for a new truck myself here pretty soon. So make sure to check them out. And on the fishing front, let's get right into it. I've been out of town a lot over the last few weeks, so I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I'm not going to tell you guys that I've been on these lakes figuring out the bite myself because I've been on tour. I was over at Mille Lacs. I had another tournament in Minnesota. I'm getting ready to go to the U.S. Open at Lake Mojave. So what I'm going to do is kind of talk about what I historically like to do in Arizona in October, what I would be doing, and then when I get back from the U.S. Open, what I will be doing on these lakes. We'll talk about Pleasant, Saguaro, Bartlett, Roosevelt, maybe Canyon, and just run through it that way. So, I talked a lot about the transition, the fall transition in our September fishing report, how it was just starting. And it's still, it's been hot and it's still hot. I mean, it's almost 100 degrees today as I'm doing this. And, we're not in that full pattern yet. But those fish, even though the temps are still hot, the fish know those nights, they get longer, the days get shorter, the water temps do drop, a little bit, even as those nighttime lows drop from the high 80s into the low 70s. We're seeing the water temp already start to go down and the fish are almost in a full fall mode. It's still transitional, but give it a couple more weeks and it's going to be fall fishing, and we're going to see big changes. So, really, I would say on all these lakes, the safest, best way to go out and catch fish consistently is still going to be on a worm, a drop shot, something like that. That's almost always the case here in Arizona. Drop shot is the best way to catch fish day in, day out if you're just trying to get bit. But topwater is going to give it a real close run for its money. And I would say it's the second safest bet, which topwater is always, everyone knows it as a real fickle deal. It's hit or miss, and that's kind of true. But if you were out at Roosevelt or Pleasant or Bartlett right now, and you threw a topwater from your first cast to your last cast, I promise you would have a good day of fishing. The differences you're going to see from day to day, your hookup ratio. You get great conditions, maybe, a low pressure day, everything lines up right and they're really active. You're going to be hooking most of the fish you catch. You get out there on a tough day, maybe high pressure, if there's a little front that rolls through post frontal, you're still going to get the blow ups, but you're going to hook less of the fish. And so at the end of the day, you'll have caught less fish, but it's still a good way to go. I mean, topwater, everyone knows it has a first light deal, but I throw it all day long right now. My number one topwater for fishing right now is a Berkeley Chopo 90 in the bone color. That smaller profile is going to get you a lot of bites. The big fish still aren't going to snub it, but what I love about that is you can cover a ton of water. Just burn bank until you get into the fish and, keep moving. The whole thing with fall fishing is keep moving, keep covering water. When you do find an area that's got some bait in it, you get a couple bites, see some shad, you can always come back to that later. You fish it, catch a couple fish, mark a waypoint, keep it in your memory and come back later. But really the biggest thing right now is covering water with that topwater. You can throw whatever topwater you like. If you want to throw a buzzbait, you can do that, a walking bait, a popper. But I love that Chopo because you can cover so much water with it. I've got a rod and reel that's like throwing the Chopo on this rod and reel is like my favorite thing in the world because it's so smooth. I throw it on a 7-foot medium Abu Garcia Fantasista rod. It's a nice, just 7-foot medium rod. And I throw it on a Revo reel and then a 30-pound braid. Throwing that thing on a smooth 30-pound braid, something like Berkeley X9, it's going to be a breeze. You can cast it so far. That smooth braid comes through your guide so well. It's just a pleasure to fish. So if you are out on one of those days when they're hitting it and missing it a lot, You can make some adjustments. You could do something like switching to a soft jerk bait and twitching it on the surface. You know, sometimes when they're not fully willing to commit on that top water, something just barely subsurface like that soft jerk bait works well. Also a light swim bait, you know, something like a small weedless swim bait works really well in those situations. Just depends on how much cover you're around and stuff like that. But yeah, all those lakes are, you know, it's going to be a topwater deal. If you're at Saguaro or Canyon, for whatever reason, the last few years, the topwater bite just hasn't been as good. You could definitely give it a shot, and you could definitely catch a big fish on topwater at either of those lakes. But odds are, again, something subsurface is going to work better. You know, whatever that might be, a spinner bait, a crankbait, vibrating jig. But there's nothing wrong with fishing fast right now and covering water. It's the fall, getting up shallow and just covering some bank, even on Saguaro and Canyon. But I would probably not lean heavily on the top water all day if you're at either of those lakes. It's always been that way. You're dealing with almost pure Florida strain fish, and they're just honestly, they're a lot lazier and more lethargic on a daily basis than the fish at Bartlett, Pleasant, and Roosevelt. Those fish, they're willing to play ball. You can get those fish to chase something every day of the year. The fish in Saguaro and Canyon are much slower moving fish, and a lot of times you got to fish subsurface or fish slower to catch those guys. And then, you know, yeah, just sticking on the Saguaro Canyon thing, as the sun gets up later in the day, it's going to be kind of still your same stuff you did all summer long. Get on those walls, get on those breaks, get on those flats, throw a worm, you know, either a drop shot, a Texas rig, a jig, a Carolina rig, but go slow. You know, you're going out there. If you catch 5 to 10 to 12 fish, that's a good day. You're going to have a couple big ones in there. Your expectations for numbers are going to be a lot higher at a Roosevelt or a Bartlett. You're going to be out there hoping to catch 20, 25, 30 fish, and the size isn't going to be as good, but you're getting a lot more bites. You know, as we get later into the month, the water's going to cool a lot. We're going to start talking more about that deep bite and the real deep bite. Like late October, early November, that's going to start coming. But I think I need to save that for next month because, again, we're not there yet. It's still 100 degrees. The water temp's still 80 in most of our lakes, and we're not there yet. So we'll talk more about the deep bite, and I'm going to try to get out and do some videos on both here as we get a little bit closer. After I fish this US Open, I'm going to have some time at home, so I'll actually get out in the boat and show you guys kind of what I'm doing, what I'm going to be doing and stuff like that. I'll talk a lot about electronics, fishing deeper, all that good stuff that people usually want to know about. But right now, if you're going out to the lake and you haven't been on one of these bodies of water in a little while, you want to go catch some fish, stay shallow, cover a lot of water. If you find some fish, don't be afraid to come back later. And, that's really it. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry for the inconsistency on the videos. I'll be much more consistent once this tournament season wraps up. It's been kicking my butt here as far as time goes. But thanks for watching. And please like, subscribe, click that bell notification. And always feel free to leave a comment. And if you're looking for a guide trip, my guide season is actually picking up here. As soon as I'm wrapped up with this Open, I'll be open for some guide trips. So I know a few of you have emailed me for trips when we've set them up. So again, feel free, azangler@gmail.com. That's all lowercase, azangler@gmail.com. Drop me a line, and if you're interested in going fishing, we can just do whatever. If you're trying to learn a certain technique, trying to learn a lake, trying to learn your electronics, whatever it might be, maybe you just want to go catch some fish. So drop me a line, and we will be back at you guys soon. Thanks.